The authors of this piece call attention to the growing rates of HIV and AIDS among minority youth in the New York City area of the United States. They suggest that part of the problem is that teenagers in today's age live in a highly sexualized environment, and they seek to ask the teenagers specific questions and find out how they respond to these highly sexual messages and what those messages affect on their daily lives. The authors use in-depth interviews as their main method for analysis. The children were picked at random via a focus group. They were asked questions about the images that they see on television and music videos on the internet. Some of the responses brought up questions that they hadn't thought to ask before, which is always good in research. Of these students, 85% of them were Black, 15% were of Spanish descent. An average number of 77% of the youth were under 18. The majority of the students were also born and raised in the state of New York. Oddly, only 4 of the students were over 18, which is interesting seeing as how the age for getting into clubs is 18. In terms of analysis, the research team sought to identify patterns of behavior, terms, and symbols that frequently used in the hip hop club scene. Questions they asked are, what are your thoughts about the hip hop club scene? What type, if any, sexual or non-sexual interactions take place in the club? How are these actions initiated? And how do these situations influence sexual encounters for the future? The majority of the focus group admitted that dancing is just that, dancing. They do say that sometimes it makes them want to have sex when leaving the club or in the near or distant future, but more than likely it's not that serious. Some males admitted that being able to dance is like taking control of a situation in a creative way. A shy young man who can mimic certain dance move that he's heard on TV or seen feels more comfortable talking to a woman via his dance moves. Others say it's used as a tactic for winding down in a society that focuses kids so much on getting good grades and doing the right thing and growing up correctly. Dancing is a way to wind down and express themselves creatively without fear or judgment from everyone else. Also, reggae and rap artists continuously objectify women in a way that causes young girls to want to mimic what they see on TV. So they get instructions from the rapper and then they proceed to do those dance moves in whatever club that they are in or in the comfort of their rooms or wherever they are engaging in this type of activity. Some admit to seeing the similarities with sex, but most say that it's not that serious and when they leave the dance floor, they're off the dance floor and that's it. The offered conclusion is not necessarily one that the reader would expect. The authors do not suggest that hip hop is the end all be all problem for the rising rates of HIV and STD or sexually related issues amongst teenagers or minority youth in that region, but they do say that it does have some sort of effect. They actually mention Kenneth Burke's equipment for living theory, saying that the kids use music as a way of expression and a way to analyze how they feel about life. For many, the words that they hear in the rap songs are very, very similar to the lives that they are actually leading from day to day. So when they hear these words, this is how they make sense of their reality. They use it to help them in their lives, good or bad. It could be uplifting or it could be negative, and what they choose to do with it is up to them and how they have choose to relate it to their own personal lives. Dancing being the same way. For some, it is a creative outlet. For others, it is a source of power when it comes to women in relationships to men and how they can initiate sexual activity outside of the normal traditional ways of doing so. Ultimately, they say it's up to the listener of the music or the viewer of the dancing to decide how he or she would like to respond and what they will do with how they feel when they're engaging in these activities and see to it that their actions in the future are governed accordingly and safely.